Hello everyone, welcome to Explore Electronics. Let us begin with the chapter 1 of module 1. In this video, we'll see the various computer generations, types of computers, and we'll also learn about the bits, bytes, and words. Let's see the various computer generations. Before that, what is a computer? Computer is not just a PC or laptop that we use. Any machine which is programmed to perform certain tasks, which is capable of processing the input data and giving the output is a computer. So, in the first generation of computers, we'll see how the first generation of computers were built. The first generation of computers were using vacuum tubes for computation, and the memory was built using magnetic drums. First computer, that is ENIAC, which is Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer, it used 18,000 vacuum tubes. It was consuming a lot of space. 1800 square feet of space was being consumed, and also 180 kilowatts of power. And the machine level language, that is only zeros and ones, was used to interact with the computer. Even today, the computer only understands zeros and ones, but the interaction with the computer is in a different language. Earlier in the first generation, the interaction with the computer was only with the machine level language. And for input and output, punch cards and papers were being used. And the main application of these computers at that time was only for scientific work. It was not available for the personal usage. In the second generation of computers, the vacuum tubes were replaced with transistors. And for memory, magnetic cores were used. So this generation computers were more reliable compared to the first generation computers. And also it occupied lesser space. And to interact with the computer, assembly level or symbolic language was used. But the input and output mechanism was still the same. And one more important concept came into picture, that is the stored program concept, which means the computers were able to store data and program. In the third generation of computers, integrated circuits, ICs, came into picture. That is the transistors, diodes, resistors, capacitors, so all such individual components were being integrated on a single chip. Thereby, it reduced the space occupied for these components and the size of the computers automatically reduced. And to interact with the computers, the higher level languages were used like BASIC, C, C++, and Java. Also, the memory capacity were increased drastically. In the third generation computers, OS, that is operating systems, was introduced, with the help of which the computers were able to run the programs invoked by multi-users. Coming to the fourth generation, large-scale integration and very large-scale integration came into picture, which means all the ICs, that is integrated circuits, were integrated together and a microprocessor was built. So we can say the entire CPU was built on a single chip. And OS was moved from MS-DOS to GUI. That is, in the fourth generation, the computers offered the graphical user interface, like what we have in Windows. So the users were able to interact with the computer with the help of graphics and not just the command line interface. And also, the network technology was improved a lot. And also, the size was reduced and speed was increased in this generation. In the fifth generation of computers, that is the present and future generation of computers, the technologies have advanced enormously. That is, we have artificial intelligence and the computers interact with us in a natural language. So earlier, there were punch cards used for giving inputs to the computers. But now we are able to interact with the computer in the natural language. And also the technological advancements brought us the speech recognition, and also the computer is able to talk to us with the speech output. And also the parallel processing have made the computers more reliable and faster. And the processors had quad core and octa core. And now we also have the very fast computer is having 32 core processor. Coming to the types of computers, we have supercomputers. So these supercomputers are designed for a specific purpose. So these are very huge machines which are having most powerful processors. And it has multiple CPUs which will perform the processing parallelly. And in this supercomputers, the speed is measured in flops, that is floating point operations per second. And the fastest system operates at 34 petaflops. It is used in certain applications like weather forecasting, analysis of geological data. So they have enormous storage and they use more power. These supercomputers are not used in our day-to-day personal usage. Mainframes. So these are multi-user computers and they can run multiple programs in a single CPU. How is it possible? This is because of time sharing. So the CPU shares the time between the multiple programs. So the multiple users using it do not feel any delay, but the CPU shares the time internally. And the processor speed of these mainframes are measured in MIPS, that is million instructions per second. So how many million instructions it can execute per second determines the speed of this processor. And the main usage of mainframe computers is to handle data and application related to organization like a finance institution or a bank. Coming to mini computers, or we can call it as mid-range computers. So these are also capable of handling multiple users. This is not as big as mainframe computers. So these mini computers can handle hundreds of users, and these are very suitable for small organizations. But these are not affordable to be used in home. Coming to microcomputers, the microcomputers or the personal computers that we use was introduced by Apple and endorsed by IBM. So this is a single user machine. They are very powerful machine. In this microcomputers, the memory is measured in the units of GB, that is gigabyte. The main types of OS used in microcomputers are Windows, Mac and Linux. And the purpose of these computers is engineering and software development. Smartphones and embedded computers. As we all know, smartphone is a general purpose computer which is capable of making phone calls, and it has a powerful processor with multiple cores, and it supports GBs of memory. What are the OSs that are used in smartphones? Yes, it is Android and iOS. It can be operated with keyboard and touch inputs. And coming to embedded computers are nothing but the microcontrollers, which are having a very small circuits which contains a CPU, a memory and also input-output handling facilities. And these microcontrollers are embedded into many machines. For example, cars, washing machines, cameras that are embedded with the microcontrollers. So these are called embedded computers. So the processor here, it runs a single unmodifiable program. For example, washing machines. So they are set with a certain program and this is unmodifiable, which will be stored in the memory. Now let us understand what is bits, bytes and words. So the computer only understands zeros and ones. So this 0 and 1 is nothing but a bit. So it is a binary digit. One binary digit is nothing but a bit. If we require 4 bits to represent any data, so this 4 bits is called as a nibble. And 8 such bits, if we are using 8 bits to represent any data, then that 8 bits together we call it as a byte. So this byte is a standard unit of measurement of computer memory. And also the transmission speed is measured in byte. When we refer to a computer, if we say that it is 32-bit, that means it is capable of processing 32-bit data. So a word is 32 bits. So if we can see this chart, see 1 kilobyte is equal to 1024 bytes. You can relate it like this, the space used by 10 lines of text. 1 megabyte, 1024 kilobytes, and gigabytes, that is 1024 megabytes, and capacity of today's hard disk will be in terabytes. So 1 terabyte is again 1024 gigabytes. And we also have petabytes, which is equal to 1024 terabytes. So we can say that the space used for rendering a film, it takes 1 petabyte. Till now, we understood the computer generations, various computer types, bits, bytes and words. See you all in the next video. Thank you.